Hello, welcome back. Let's talk about the 12 houses in astrology. I mentioned this in my chart video, but your birth chart is divided into 12 houses, and the first house starts with your rising sign, which is determined by your time of birth. Then the signs go counterclockwise around the chart. Each house symbolizes different areas of life, and the signs and planets that are there will show you how they are expressed. Let's talk about the first house. This is your rising or ascendant sign, like I said. The first house represents the body, the self, physically, so it can have an impact on appearance. This and your midheaven or 10th house can be seen in the first impression that you give off. It's tied to your identity and how you carry yourself. And then every subsequent house after the first house gets a little bit like further away from the self, like working inward and personal, like then to outward and public. So the second house, this is often referred to as the house of physical possessions or resources, like money. It is also tied to your values and self-worth. The second house is like the next step away from the self and can represent our daily habits as well, because that's how we first begin to interact with the physical world. Next is the third house, which is the house related to communication, things that are close to you, including people like siblings and neighbors, information, and it's like also related to communication, information exchange. It's like information processing, your mind, and how you learn. This could represent your grade school life or your time in grade school. It's like those first learning experiences. Next is the fourth house, or the house of home. This is related to your family or your roots, things that feel like home or are comforting, how you leisure, sometimes your actual physical home. This also shows things that you may like to keep private, or things that are really you carry deep within you. Next is the fifth house, which is the house of fun. This is related to your creative expression, your inner child, your relationship with fun. Not everyone has a good relationship with fun. Some people are just very serious, which is fine. This is how you like to spend your free time, and kind of your attitude versus play versus work. Also associated with initial romantic attraction, joy, pleasure, impulses, all those kinds of things. Next is the sixth house, the house of service. This can be how you prefer to work, your health, routines, pets and animals. This can show you how inclined you are to helping others. It kind of shows your relationship with discipline, or those things that you are very disciplined in, which is why it can kind of show direct relationship to your health, just because taking care of your health is such a daily thing. Same with work, daily work. Next is the seventh house. This is your house of relationships. If the first house is a self, then the seventh house is the other. Serious relationships, not flings. Flings are short relationships, short fun things. Those are all fifth house related. This is contractual relationships, whether it's marriage or business, and shows how you connect with people. Next is the eighth house, which people like to fearmonger about. But this is a house of transformation. It is a little intense. Also, transformation or death, depending on how you look at it. This also represents other people's money, debt, inheritances. This is another layer deeper into yourself and usually pretty hidden. It could be things that you could associate with shame. If the fourth house is a step deeper, right, of things you like to keep hidden. The eighth house could be things you think are taboo, or you think other people think are taboo. You don't like to talk about, whether it's relevant to you, or you whether it's something you're actively trying to hide, or something you just don't really like to associate with. And that's why people say it's the sex house, which I just don't I guess, sure, but I don't feel sex was maybe taboo hundreds of years ago, but it's not anymore. So I don't know. That's a perceptive cultural thing, I think. Next is the ninth house. This is the house of knowledge and travel. It rules things like higher education, spirituality, in like a general sense. It could just be your faith in anything. It doesn't have to be religious. It does, if you are religious, this ties into it, but it doesn't have to be. Also rules long distance travel, beliefs, as well as your teachers or mentors. That's why it's higher education. So like grade school was like the third house, and then opposite of the third house is the ninth house. So this represents like if you go to university, or if you find a mentor, like you do an apprenticeship, you travel to gain like life experience, like that, those kinds of things. Definitely like more out into the world. Next is the 10th house, the house of your reputation. This is commonly associated with your career, but yes, your career can be very like public facing, but could also just be, it could be anything that you are putting out there. It's associated with like legacy. It doesn't necessarily have to mean like your job, even though a lot of people look at it that way. It's more of your long lasting like, or your like long term goals and ambitions, and how that like reflects to people. It's like a very public like the public can see this house. Like if you are meeting people for the first time, they might see like your 10th house along with like your first house more than they see like your sun. But then like once they get to know you a little bit more, they see like your sun, because it's very expressive to who you are. But like your 10th house could be like kind of how you like, kind of like a little bit of a mask you might put on. Mask isn't the right word for it. I don't really like that. It's just kind of like a vibe you can kind of give off when you're first meeting people. Next is the 11th house. This is a social house, as well as a house of wishes, which is commonly associated in a lot of astrology reading I've done. These are communities you belong to, or communities you influence. It relates heavily to your social life. Like, yes, your friends can also be represented by your 7th house, but like in the 11th house, it's like kind of maybe your social outings, how you engage with socializing. If you participate in social media, that's very 11th house. And it also deals with the future, but it's kind of on like a social scale, like kind of how you interact with like social issues, all those kinds of things. Then the last house is the 12th house, another spooky house compared to like that some people some people are a little scared of, but whatever. This is the house of surrender. So like we've gone all the way around from the self to like our immediate environment to our partners, and then from learning like outside of our immediate surrounding, and then we go like public and we interact with the outside world, and now we're in the 12th house. This is your subconscious. It rules like institutions like hospitals, prisons, that kind of thing. It's another step deeper into your psyche, probably the deepest in there. It can be very, very hidden and very hard to be aware of. It represents solitude and suffering. It's also connected to spirituality, if you believe that kind of thing, just because it could be associated with like healing, like psychological healing. It rules like what's hidden and suppressed inside. So these things, like, it might be very difficult to be aware of. Some people are more self-aware than others. That can show in the 12th house. Like someone who like has a lot of 12th house placements is usually more familiar with these kinds of themes, but someone who doesn't, like, that just might not be something that is like prevalent in their life. It's still like obviously everyone has like a subconscious. It just depends how. Obviously, it depends on anything in astrology. Depends on literally everything else without seeing the whole chart. But yeah, those are the 12 houses. Those are just some brief descriptions of the types of areas, the themes, things that each house deals with. And then obviously they host a sign and the planets within them in a birth chart, so that all changes kind of how these themes get brought to life. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was informative for you. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please ask away. I will do my best. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye.